Hey guys, it's Caitlin. Thank you so much for tuning into this video today. First of all, I hear from so many people, and I know that double pigeon, or you might know it as fire log, is a pretty intense pose. So if you are watching this like, I'm intrigued, but also there's a slight feeling of like, there's no way that I'm ever going to do that. Please know that I completely understand and I know where you're at. And the reason is behind that, why so many of us share that kind of more on the borderline of hate in the love-hate relationship with double pigeon is that the muscles that are being stretched in double pigeon are just muscles that we don't even acknowledge barely at all in the way that we live our lives these days. So it's a pretty intense, deep stretch. So when we barely even acknowledge that they exist 99.9% of the time, to all of a sudden ask so much of them, pretty big deal. So that's specifically, though, the reason why I wanted to make this video and share this information with you today. And it's really a continuation of our discussion on facilitated stretching, or PNF stretching, which I gave a more in-depth description of in my video that's focused on stretching your hamstrings. So if you haven't watched that yet, also please click pause and click the link below this and watch that first and learn exactly what PNF stretching is, what facilitated stretching is. It's the same thing, just two different names. And your hamstrings also could always use a little love. So first and foremost, watch that video, learn in depth what PNF stretching is, but we're going to apply that theory now to double pigeon and to stretching your back and outer hips. And in short, though, if you don't have time to watch the other video right now, that's okay. But in short, facilitated stretching is a theory where you activate the muscle as you stretch it in order to see a greater transformation in the muscle that it is that you're intending to see transformation in. So let's start here. First, I know a lot of people, right, kind of just come into double pigeon, and the cue to come in is just to, align your shins with the top of your mat and stack your shins one on top of the other. And so then this is what I see a lot happening with that cue and that cue alone. Now, what's really happening here is my shins are able to be right on top of the other, and I'm able to, have this alignment, not because I'm really getting in there and stretching my hip deeply, but because I am tweaking my ankle and my knee. So these two joints are kind of compensating for the lack of mobility in my hip right now. So if you hang out here and you stretch here, you're really not doing any service for your hips at all. Instead, actually, you're potentially causing harm further down the road for both your ankle and knee joint. Now, the second thing that I see is then to kind of work with this shape. Then you see how there's like this gap here in between my foot and my knee. Then a lot of people will take a block and put it underneath here. And also, well, I want to say, none of this is necessarily bad or inherently bad, but it could be bad for your body. Not inherently bad, but could be. So what I'm about to share is just hopefully a more inherently good way for more bodies. So here, what I'm doing is just not really anything. I've closed this gap in between my knee and my foot, but now I can't work on my hip really at all because the block is in the way. So I wouldn't recommend putting a block in between this gap here because then you really can't work any deeper at all. Instead, what I would recommend, if you come into double pigeon like this, slide your leg that's on top over. so that it's really just your ankle sitting on top of your bottom leg. And so your foot actually right here is kind of hanging out in the air. And then under this foot, usually about the medium height is a good place to start, but of course, depending on your body, that could be a little bit different. It could be lower or higher, but usually the medium height is a good place to start for most bodies. And now you might already see my knee has lifted up higher because now I'm actually working my hip, which doesn't have the mobility for my knee to go all the way down right now in this moment. I've taken away that compromisation. I'm no longer compromising my ankle and my knee. I'm no longer counting on them to get me deeper in the stretch. Instead, I'm solidifying them. I'm isolating them with this block, and instead I'm really working into my hip now for real. So this is a beautiful place to start, first and foremost. Now, to really incorporate that facilitated stretching, that PNF stretching, that active stretching, to activate your hip muscles here while you open them, push the pinky toe side of your foot down into your block. And don't use your arm, don't use your hand to push, but use your outer hip muscles to draw your knee down towards your bottom foot. So at the same time, simultaneously push down with the pinky toe side of your foot and use your outer hip muscles to drag your knee any amount down towards your bottom foot. And if you're practicing this at home by any chance while I'm talking about it, you might already feel the shift in sensation in your body. And so if you're not already doing it, then I would certainly recommend exploring this on your own at home and seeing the difference in sensation that you feel from one version to the other to the other. So thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to watch this today. I am incredibly grateful to each and every one of you. If you have any further questions about this or anything else that I can answer, please feel free to send them my way at caitlinlassieyoga@gmail.com. Thank you so much. Namaste.